This playthrough is rated M for mature.
Alright, time for your after mission cleanup and finding out what winter has to bring us. Greetings and salutations, viewers. Vauldemare back here with another episode of Shadowrun Dragonfall. In the last episode, we finished, we got a new decker on the team. We also finished the hotel area, got some information, and we talked to the locals. But now, it's time to talk to our local companions to learn their stories as we continue on with the plot. Let's talk to Blitz, our new guy. Blitz looks up at your approach. The table beside him is littered with cigarette butts and a data jack cable dangles from a portable terminal set up by his side. Hiya, Chief. Well, you need something? Just checking in. You doing alright? His smile widens. Great, Chief. I'm doing just great. It's real nice to be able to wind down and relax for a change. No more worrying about this ganga or that ganga sneaking behind me, slipping a knot between my ribs. He slaps the table with a grin. It's a good change, Chief. Gotta say. No one ever is really safe, not when gangs are involved. Don't let your guard down. His smile widens and he taps his chest. You can see the outline of a machine pistol through the leather of his jacket. You underestimate me, Chief. I'll never let my guard down, not even here. Now that you're all settled, I've got some questions for you. Blitz glances wistfully back at the terminal on the table and then turns back with a sigh of resignation. I suppose, but try to keep it short, okay, Chief? I've got things to do. How long were you in Dragonkip? I ended up there after the anarchist revolution of 39. I was just a kid back then, too young to realize how good I was, how much money I could have made working the shadows. He shakes his head, a wistful expression in his face. And so, being young and dumb, I fell in with the gang crowd, and that was that. You remember the drug gang. Why should I trust you? Why wouldn't you, Chief? I mean, just look at me. He does his best to give you a winning smile. I'm a trustworthy guy. Prove it. Tell me about the gang that you ran with. Well, I don't know all that much, Chief. I wasn't a member of gang leadership or anything. I'm not really sure why you can either. Consider it a test. I need to know where your loyalties lie. He rolls his eyes. That's what it'll take for you to trust me, Fawn. Anything for you, Chief? Well, where to begin? When I first arrived in Dragonkip, I spent some time taking in the lay of the land. The Schwarzhosen were still a pretty small gang, strictly street level, but I could see they were going places. I did a little pro bono decking for the leader, a fat little dwarf named Dieter. Soon enough, I was part of the family. For a drug gang, the Schwarzhosen were decent enough folks. I made a lot of money with them, helped him take the hotel in the first place. We had a lot of good years there. Then Dieter was killed in a firefight, and our happy little family fell apart. Was that when the hotel got attacked? Blitz takes a deep breath, shifts his weight from one foot to another. Not exactly. The Schwarzhosen maintained the hold on Dragonkip, for the change of leadership was bad news for me. After Dieter kicked the bucket, his second-in-command took over. She was a real piece of work, called herself Leonie Lister. She had a vicious streak a mile long, and she was none too fond of me. I can't imagine why not. I know, what's not to like? Maybe she felt threatened by my friendship with Dieter back when he ate the bullet. Or maybe she was just jealous of my rugged good looks. Who the hell knows? The point is, she went after me vigorously. Within 24 hours of Dieter's death, I had a price on my head, and then the hotel got taken over. So that's what you need to know about the Schwarzhosen. They were a great gang, a powerful gang. I helped to make them that way. Then when they had a management turnover, everything went to hell. Blitz rocks back on his feet, his hands in his pockets. That's it. End of story. Anything else you want to talk about? Intelligence of 2. Wait a second. That isn't it. There were some pretty big holes in that story. Come on, Chief. This is all ancient history. Wouldn't you rather talk about the future? The runs we're going on? All the money we're going to make? Blitz, tell me what happened between Lester putting the price on your head and the hotel being attacked. All right, Chief. Fine. That's what it'll take to make you happy. So I was in a bond, right? The members of the Schwarzhosen were loyal to Lester, were all out for my blood, and none of the others were going to stick their necks out for me. The advantage of being a ganger in protection is numbers. When those numbers turn against you, you've got to get creative if you want to stay alive. What'd you do? Blitz taps the plastic of his data jack. Well, I had to. Lester declared war on me, so I retaliated. I won, all without ever firing a shot. It's not an answer. Blitz sighs. You won't be satisfied until I spell it out, will you? Okay, fine. I hacked into Lester's computer and sent all the information to a rival organization. Remember Frank from the hotel? He is my liaison. They hit the Schwartzes and they hit him hard. Then they took the hotel, and then they took me. I'll admit that the plan backfired a little. You did what you had to. In your place, I probably would have done the same. Blitz lets out a sigh of relief. Thanks, Chief. I knew you'd understand. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to what I was doing. He gives you a lazy salute. We'll talk later, I'm sure, Chief, and I'll be glad to be a member of the team. Yeah, well, interesting. As you approach, Blitz gives you an easy smile. Hey, Chief, what's up? Any thoughts about the last run you'd like to share? Well, Chief, I wasn't around for most of it, but you got me out of that hotel, and for that you'll have got my eternal thanks. Talk to you later, Blitz. You always want to talk to your guys a couple of times just to get their backstories if you're trying to go for 100% completion for them, because there is achievements for getting their full story. So, hey, doggy. You look down to see a pair of bright eyes set in a scruffy face looking back up at you. Dante, Monica's old dog. Looking down into those huge brown eyes, you see intelligence and sadness. On some instinctive level, you must know his master is gone. Dante lets out a small whine, then rubs his head against your leg. Pet him. Woof. Hey, Dietrich. Hey, boss. Dietrich gives you a slight nod. What can I do for you? How are you holding up? You seem to take Monica's death harder than the others. Dietrich shakes his head, a wistful expression on his face. No harder, but I'm less buttoned up than the others are. Iga never let herself show any weakness, and Glory, well, she's too full of crone to feel much of anything. He shrugs. Me, I don't give a damn. I've spent too much time in my life putting on a show of others already. What do you mean by that? I used to have to front a punk band way back then. Believe it or not, I spent a very good chunk of my life on stage. Whenever I was playing, I was living up to our fans' expectations, bunting off, getting into fights, getting drunk, getting laid. Not a bad life, all things considered. Wait, you can sing? He regards you with a critical eye. I was the front man for a punk band, boss. Fuck no, I can't sing. He grins, but it wasn't half bad at rallying up a crowd. What's your band called? Maybe I've heard of it. Oh, doubt it, boss. We never really got any airplay. Come on, Dietrich, tell me. Alright, boss, if you insist. The band was called Mezzenkampf. Spelled like that it sounds, in big capital letters with an exclamation point. We weren't a big act or anything. We sold a few records here and there, toured around Europe. We had a decent following in England, and we've holed up in London from 31 to 36. Spent most of our time slumming it around the East End and picked up enough cockney to irritate the folks back home. He shakes his head. Truth be told, that whole chapter of my life is a bit of a blur. We didn't do it for the fans or the fame. We were sure as shit didn't care about the money. All that matters, we were staying young, drunk, and angry. He takes a moment to examine his gnarled hands, a sad smile on his face. We managed the second two. Good God, where has the time gone? Dietrich shakes himself from his reverie and looks back up at you. That familiar, easy grin returns to his face. Well, anyway, boss, everything ends eventually, and I washed my hands of all this years ago. So let's change the subject, if you don't mind. How'd you go from fronting a band to running the Shadows? Wasn't as big a leap as you think. I've already had a healthy disrespect for authority, and I had the magic to back it up. One thing about shamanism, as long as you keep your idol happy, it doesn't matter what else you do. The Dragon Slayer chose me to be his servant, and as long as I was scraping with someone bigger than me, he didn't care much whether I did on stage or in the shadows. Tell me about the Dragon Slayer. I'm trying to remember the movie. Wasn't there a video game called Dragon Slayer as well? I think there was also... Yeah, Fex Xanadu is a spin-off of that series. In Japan, anyway. I think it was called Dragon Slayer. It might have been Dragon Slayer something, but anyway. It's been forever since I played Fex Xanadu. Maybe I should do a recording that one of these days. He shrugs. Not much to tell. He chose me when I was just a kid. Could always feel him in my heart. Good in me to laugh louder, hit harder, and get rowdier than the rest. Of course, my family didn't understand, but the hell with them, I thought. I knew that I was destined for greater things. So I listened to him and cracked the skulls of a lot of bad people. He saw this and was pleased and rewarded me with magic. Now use that magic to crack bigger, thicker skulls, and so on. He shrugs. It's a simple life, but a good one. Any thoughts about the last run you'd like to share? Well, we found Venters. That's something, I guess. This whole thing has me feeling uneasy, boss. But as us as we have a direction to look into. Come on, Dietrich. He nudged you. Take it easy, boss. Alright, well, let's check with everyone else. And that's my equipment stash, mission computer. No one in here. Nope. Alright, let's talk to Iger. Alright, we got some words, Iger. It's about time we talked about it. Iger turns to face you. There's a pained look on her face. Look, I owe you an apology. Is that so? Yes, it is. When Ivanka died, I was pissed. That probably doesn't come as a huge surprise, but I took that anger out on you when I shouldn't have. Seeing Venter's body like that was enough to convince me. You couldn't have done anything to help Monica, and I couldn't have either. You were dealing with something new. Monica was a good friend of mine. Her death hurt. I got carried away, and I said some things I shouldn't have. I want to apologize for that. Her body relaxes. She begins to turn away. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. There are a few things I wanted to say. She stops and turns back to face you. You can see the wariness behind her eyes. Go ahead. Nobody's stopping you. Let's see. I accept your apology, but if you ever insult me in front of the team again, you're going to regret it. That's a promise. She nods appreciatively. Some backbone. That's good to see. Don't worry, Backfire. I won't question your competence again. Not in front of the others, at least. But I won't lie. I still have concerns about you. Yeah. I was like, to hell with your concerns. I have nothing to prove to you. No. That's your prerogative, but don't forget who leads this team. Don't worry, I won't. She turns away. You should go, fearless leader. I've got prep work to do for our next run, and you've got more important things to do than watch me pack my gear. Any other? This isn't the best of times. Come back later if you want to talk. Okay. As long as they give us some generic dialogue, we know we're done with their conversation, so. Hey, Glory. Buckwire, what do you need? Hey, Glory, how you holding up? Don't worry about me. I'm solid. You sure you look like you're a million miles away? I'll be with you when it counts. Right now, it doesn't. I have a question for you, Glory, of the personal kind. I'm not that big on sharing sports, personal reasons. You understand, I'm sure. The edge in her voice tells you that she's not interested in continuing this conversation. Sure, I understand, but I still need to talk to you. Glory lets out a weary sigh. Ask your questions, but do it quickly. I have things to do. You can't have started running the Shadows much more than 5 years ago, tops. So what's with the vintage Chrome? It was cheap. It gets the job done. She shrugs. End of discussion. I don't think so. I've known a lot of street Sams in my time, but I've never met anyone who voluntarily installs cyberware that old. You're right. There's more to it than I'm admitting on, but I'm not interested in talking about it. I can't help but notice that you seem guarded, withdrawn. That's my problem, not of your concern. If whatever happens to you has impaired your ability to trust me, that is my concern. Come on, Glory, talk to me. Trust is earned, and I don't know you yet. Maybe later, when we get to know each other better, we can talk. For now, I prefer you dropped it. That's all I need to know. Fine with me. Anything else you needed? I'll talk to you later. She shrugs. Shoots yourself. Yeah, let's talk to her again. Glory's expression remains distant, but her lip curl upwards into a hint of a smile. Blackwire, need something? Everything still okay with you? You never need to worry about me, Blackwire. I'm fine. I still like to know more about the chrome you're sporting. That's not a story that I'm interested in telling out of context. If you wanted to get into it, we're going to need to go back, way back. She stares at you with her cold, dead eyes. I'm not sure that you want to do that. You say you'll give me an answers when we talk about your past, so let's talk about it. Why do you care? There's no hostility in her voice. If anything, she sounds suspicious. Because I'm the leader of this team, and I need to know as much as I can about the runners who are working with me. She pauses for a moment considering, then she nods. Alright, fine, we can talk, but we're doing it on my terms. This is a long story, Buckwire, long and ugly and cruel. Are you sure you want to hear this? I'll quit stalling and start talking. No, please. Alright, I'm going to start at the beginning, not for you or me. I guess that it might help me to say all this out loud. She takes a deep breath, then slowly releases it. When she speaks, her voice comes out in a cool monotone. My family lived in Stuttgart. It was a nice enough place, I suppose. My parents worked as wage slavers for IFU. My mom was a good person. Once upon a time, my father was a decent person as well. That's what Mom always told me, but I never knew him that way. She pauses for a long moment. When she begins speaking again, some of the ice has fallen away from her voice. For the first time since you met her, Glory sounds alive. The dad that I knew was an old damaged Euro war vet who turned into a hardline religion to make sense of the world. In Stuttgart, that meant either the Ritter Christi or the fascist cousins, the Kreuzritters. My father chose the latter path. I still remember hiding in my room when my father had the Kreuzritter brothers over for prayer group. They would drink and get rowdy, then spend an hour or two riling themselves up with talk about heretics and the devil's work. Then they'd go find some poor alpha dwarf, stomp the living shit out of him, and drown him in the Neckar. Meanwhile, I'd be holed up at home with Mom, who would commemorate the evening by drinking a bottle of wine and crying herself to sleep. Excuse me. I'll have to get my hands on your dad and his crusaders, see how they like pushing someone who can push back. It's a common sentiment, believe me. I appreciate the thought. Anyway, aside from the fact that my dad and his buddies were a bunch of murderous assholes, life was pretty normal. I went to school, made friends, hung out with my mom, kid stuff. Then I turned 14 and everything went to shit. Glory pauses and then swallows hard, ever so slightly. Her cheeks flush red. Suddenly she looks self-conscious, as if she had just snapped out of a trance. As quickly as it came, the flush of emotion disappears. Her voice frosts over. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Airing this stuff out is clearly helping you work through it. Yes, it is. Glory stares at you through her cold, dead eyes. But I'm not going to be able to get through this in one sitting. You need to understand that. She turns away from you, her movements mechanical. Now let's get back to the job at hand, shall we? Yeah, and talk to her one more time, just for... You got a job to prepare for, Buckwire. I don't have any more time to talk. Hit me up after the run if you like, but for now, I need some space. Alright. Well, now that we've done talking to the team, let's talk to Amsel and get this plot going. Again. Amsel. I wish to speak with you. Amsel's expression is harder than you've seen it before. When he speaks, his voice is grim. Inger told me about me of Green Winter's death. She said that he died in the same manner that Monica did. She shouldn't have done that. Speaking for the team is my job, not hers. Don't be too hard on her. The sight of Winter's body has shaken her to a considerable extent. She also mentioned that you found something in Winter's safe, a package full of old discs. May I see them? Of course. We hand over the disc. Good God! Gingerly, Amsel lifts the disc from the bundle and holds it up to the light. Slowly, he begins to turn it in his hands, causing rainbow patterns to shimmer across its surface. I haven't seen one of these since I was a boy. This is a DVWRW, a DH storage medium from the mid-2000s. I'm amazed that Winter was able to find a device that could play it. DVDs, man. Oh, wait, there's still a thing. Do you know how to read these things? It kind of reminds me of the episode of Cowboy Bebop, for those who know that show. There's a episode where they have to find an old VHS, or was it a beta player? One of the two. He puts down the DVD in his hands and quickly inspects the others. The first disc that I looked at might be readable. The others are damaged, some severely so. I have my doubts about them. For now, let's concentrate on the undamaged disc. There's a little shop outside the data haven. Talk to the proprietor, Maloney. She might be able to help. Tell her to put the cost of the device on my account. Why don't you do it yourself? This might come as a shock, but I'm not your errand boy. Yes, you are. I'm your fixer. I find you jobs and you carry them out. That is our arrangement. Now, please, fetch the damn device. I just want to choose that because it's funny, because it's true. Anyway, we got to talk to the drone lady again. So let's do that. Yeah, I probably could have waited to talk to everyone after when I did the plot, but man. Look back, what am I going to do for you? I got something. I'm looking for something that can play back a DVD/RW. Really? That's old tech. Very old, in fact. Just a moment. I'll go look. She turns to rummage through a bin of obsolete components at the back of her stall. Ah, yes, here we are. The dwarf wrestles a mid-sized flat-screen display out of the bin. This display has an old enough hookups to connect to a DVD player. RCA, you know, vintage. The player itself, though, this I do not have. You may wish to try your luck down at the junkyard. There's a scavenger there, a primitive man with a crude disposition. If anyone here in the Cruisenbazar can help you find your DVD player, he can, but he'll almost certainly attempt to overcharge you for it. She takes a deep breath and smiles up at you. But you're not here for gossip. Should we conclude our business? I could give you the display for, say, 200 million. Paul Amsel said to charge it to his account. Ah, very well. I will have it packed up and delivered to Herr Amsel straight away. Best of luck finding your DVD reader. I wish you well. I'll come back to her later to maybe looking at buying a drone or something like that, but we shall see. But anyway, we need to go to... oh, yeah, and if we go to Aljernon, now that we've talked to Glory, I believe he should have some extra dialogue for us. Now that we've... Oof, forgot to zoom in a little bit. Okay, I have a question. Have you ever heard of a gang called the Cruise Ritters? Sadly, yes. They are quite active here in Berlin. They're fascists, plain and simple. They cling to Christian doctrine to justify their actions, but they are killers first and religious fanatics second. Just what is the deal with religion here anyway? I've never paid much attention myself. Ah, well, it is complicated. We stand in a country that has clung to its religious heritage with considerable zeal. In much of the developed world, the awakening shifted public perception away from organized religion. Here in Germany has had the opposite effect. While many developed nations have adopted spiritualism, some here might call it paganism, it is their de facto belief systems. The Germany of 2054 remains as a Christian nation. Whether that's a good or bad thing is open to interpretation. I take no stand on the matter anyway. Well, I think it was like socialists or something like that I talked about or had some theories about. Even a Christian, or even if religion wasn't a thing, like the religion we know, religion would still be like a thing in any civilization or culture, even if we don't call it like Christianity or paganism or whatever. Like some religion would appear in some form in some nation in some world and country because of how humans react to things. So you can never truly get rid of it. It'll just change names and descriptions, but people will come together for basic causes. Like was it civil religion is a thing. So people getting together for their state or whatever. So you could call it civil religion to follow the state 100%. So I mean, I'm not a sociologist, but I've studied little bits of it, and the idea of like you can never truly get rid of it. So what do you believe, Aljernon? I am a simple traveler and a seeker of truth. I believe that what I directly observe and what I have observed. His voice trails off and a corner of his mouth twitches up into a smile. Much. In my view, all belief systems are essentially different ways of interpreting the same thing. Magic is an underlying force of the universe. It is a fundamental truth. Religion is the lens that socialites use to focus the enormity of what truth is into something that other people can understand. But what is the source of magic? Where does that truth come from? You ask questions that have no answers, young human. The elf strokes his beard, a contemplative look on his face. My experience leads me to suspect that magic is its own source. You may, of course, choose to believe differently. It's a matter of little to me either way. So you think the world's religions are wrong, then? Did I say that? No, young human. If anything, I am saying that all belief systems are equally valid. After all, they are all different interpretations of the truth. And how can the truth be wrong? Well, aren't there things called their truth? Oh, wait, people say their truth when it's just an excuse they use to not believe it. Anyway, I don't buy any of this. We're dealing with fundamental contradictions here. If one philosophy says that there's no God and another says there are hundreds of them, they both can't be right. Could a Kabbalist create a golem if his face were misplaced? Could a voodooist Hungan commune with Loa if they did not exist? Could a Shinto Kanushi channel the power of the kami spirits if they were figments of their imagination? All of these things happen in the sixth world, and yet the tradition forms of many religions would each claim that the others are wrong. It is a conundrum, to be sure. The world's greatest religions have been struggling with it ever since the awakening, and before that. He offers you an apologetic smile. That is a problem I cannot solve for you, young human. You will have to find out your answers yourself. Intriguing. Well, you've given me a lot to think about. It is my pleasure. Now, is there anything else you need? Nah, I've got to go. Yeah, so if you talk to Gory, you get a little kind of discussion on religion in the world of Shadowrun. So it's always interesting to see how people kind of think about religion in a world that you think it's so far in the future that wouldn't be a thing anymore. But I think no matter how far we go in the future, like I said before, religion will maybe change or modify, but it'll always be there in some form or fashion. So anyway, let's talk to this guy, Scrody. A stout old man looks up at you from whatever old tech he's tinkering with to squint at you through thick old-fashioned glasses. He pushes them up with an old stained finger as he straightens up to nod at you. He speaks with a gruff but well-meaning tone, heavily accented with German tonality. Guten Tag, what can I do for you? Malik tells me that you're the man to speak about DVDs. The little shrew sent you my way, huh? Schrody's smile broadens. Well, wonders never cease. Well, introductions are in order, I suppose. Schrody Buckman at your service. The old man raises a grimy hand and salutes. Need something salvaged, some old components. Verdacht, I'm indeed your man. Wonderful. How about that DVD player? Well, let's see. I think I've got something that'll work for you. Schrody rummages through the junk heaped on the table behind him. A few seconds later, he snatches up battered plastic lozenge shaped from the pile. Well, here we go. An old Korean player that I dug up last week. 2010 model. A real beauty. Schrody's smile broadens and he gives you a conspiratorial wink. I fixed her up and got her running without any disc to read. I must have been using her as a paperweight. Sounds like what I'm looking for. How much do you want for it? Schrody glances back at the DVD player, a rueful expression on his face. Well, I'll admit, I'm a little loath to part with her. With plenty of folks out there who really appreciate an older player such as this, and I don't know what your intentions are for it. And I suppose, given the time and trouble I took putting her back together, I'd be willing to part with her with a, say... Schrody's eyes dart over your gear, a calculated expression on his face. About 500 new yen. So you can't just pay him outright if you just want to get this over with. If you have a strength 4, you could get it for free and just threaten him with it. Strength 4 says, I've got a better idea. How about you give me the DVD when I recall it even? If you want to be a dick about it. You could also, I forgot there, if you ask him about that's ridiculous, you can ask him I think there's another way. Oh, you can get, if you have Charisma 3 and you ask about the price of it, you could reduce it by half. However, there's the cheapest way to do it, which I'll show you, and get your karma for it as well. I'm short of cash right now. Could I offer you something to trade? The old man pauses for a moment, considering. I tell you what, a few months ago I had a, well, call it a difference of opinion with that Burakazi fellow from the soy calf shop. He hasn't let me into his establishment since. I'd sell my mother for a decent cup of coffee. You get me a cup of Turkish coffee and the real stuff, not that fake junk, and I'll give you the DVD player. Sound like a deal? And if you have it already, you could give it to him, which I should have bought in the last episode. I just forgot about it at the time. No dice. I'll come back with a 500. So yeah, deal. Okay, so yeah, we had to basically have the conversation with Burgazi to get the coffee. But like I said, it doesn't take that long to go to his coffee shop, so it's not like it's a pain in the butt to do it. I just forgot to buy it at the time. I knew I was gonna need it, but I didn't buy it. So all right, talk to this guy. The Turk flashes a wry smile, winks at you knowingly. I am told you have been quite busy of late, O wanderer of the shadows. My street rats tell me the business is picking up. Is that what they have taken over for Monica Burgazi? Who does it look like, you Rotundi, the Pope from the Vatican? Yeah, give him a soy calf, a big one, and put it on my account. I like the cut of his jib. A large soy calf! My, you are the generous one, good Schmidt. Are you sure you can afford such a gesture? The fat man frowns. And a scone, I was going to say, and a scone as well. Nothing too good for him. Oh, you desire, ample one, the Turk whispers. The man is a moron who eats his weight in baklava and pastries, so who am I to care? Now, what is it you like? Give me a Turkish coffee, the real stuff. Very good. Burgazi hands you a ceramic travel cup, which he fills with the brim with a dark, steaming liquid. The scent is intoxicating. Is there anything else I can do for you? Just kill time. I'll be going in. All right, now that we have now that we have the Turkish coffee, we can go to the bum, Scruddy, and get ourselves a really cheap DVD player. I mean, who knows what it's really worth? But we know what it's really worth. A good old cup of coffee. Like all things in life. Actually, I'm not a fan of coffee myself. I don't like the smell or taste, but... Scruddy looks up at you from his work and nods. Hello again, mynheer. I'm a little bit busy. What can I do for you? Back for the DVD player. Well, it ain't yours yet, but I got right here. But keep it warm for you. Now you got my coffee, or do you have the 500 new yen? Hand him the coffee. I got the coffee for you. Ah, thank you. Scruddy gratefully accepts the coffee and then snaps the lid back and inhales deeply, wiggling his mustache as he processes the scent. Yep, that's the real stuff, all right. Scruddy gingerly picks up the ancient device from the table and presses it into your hands. The plastic is scuffed and worn, and it rattles a bit when you move it. Give her some good use, okay? And that's it for that, so time to head back, so. We could go shopping if we want to, but I'll save that for eventually. I'll do that before we leave, because, spoiler, we're going to leave this place at some point, so. Alright, oh, looks like everyone's come together then. Alright. Now let's talk to Paul and tell him the good news. It seems that Amsel has assembled the team in your absence. They stand in a group around the old display that you had Malit delivered. On their faces, you can see excitement, apprehension, curiosity, and dread. All from Iger. No. Blackwire, have you procured a DVD reader? Hand Amsel the DVD player. I have it right here. Good. This should only take a moment. Amsel disappears behind the ancient display. After a few minutes of fiddling with battered inputs, he reappears, a satisfied look on his face. Everything appears to be functional. The disc should be ready to play. Well, don't keep us in suspense. Start the damn thing already. Blackwire went to the trouble of fetching everything. Let him do the honors. Amsel steps back, clearing a path for you to access the antique machine. Click the button. I don't push the button. You push the button. A soft whirring sound fills the air as the ancient DVD player spins the disc up to speed. The scratched LCD display comes to life and a menu fills the screen. Play track 1. The screen goes black and a cheerful digital chiming sound spills out from the display speakers. A crackle of static fills the air, coupled with a shrill electronic whine. After a few moments, the display goes live and a disheveled-looking man appears on the screen. His eyes glitter with excitement. The timestamp on the screen is 2034-9-15. Herbie, I think I found her. All this time, Verschwing, I knew that she wasn't dead. His speech is jittery. You can hear the urgency in his voice. She survived the Dragonfall, just as I've always said. I knew it. I was right. The screen explodes into static, and the electronic whine in the background sharpens in a needle-like pulse of high-pitched sound. Somewhere in the background, Dante lets out a low whimper. The screen clears, and the excited face is closer to the screen than it was before. The words spill out of him in a breathless tide. Taking a team into socks to retrieve her. The radiation be damned. We will take appropriate precautions, of course, but we must go. Hermie, I think that the body may be nearby as well. Somehow she has survived for all this time. The screen explodes into static again, then clears. The figure flicker across the screen. May not be back for some time. Look after Mom, okay? I worry about her. And Hermie, stay safe out there. I know that things are heating up in Berlin. I know you. Student protests, civil uprisings, and you'll be in the middle of it, I'm sure. Just stay safe, all right? And I'll do my best to do the same. I don't know what's going to happen when I step into the SOX, but I do know one thing. If the Fire Wing is still in danger, I will put an end to her once and for all. The display goes black, and the background whine fades away. A moment later, you find yourself deposited back to the menu screen. Play track 2. The screen goes black for a moment, then a figure appears on the screen. Your late client, Green Winters. His elbows planted on the table and he's seated at, and his chin rests on his palm. The other hand is wrapped around a bottle of cheap whiskey. The timestamp on the video reads 2053, 1225. Found the message Adrian left me all those years ago. Got it cleaned up as best I could. Strange hearing his voice again. He pauses to take a long pull on the bottle. It's good to hear him, even if he did insist on calling me Hermie. Dr. Adrian Vauclair, the hero of the people, the Dragon Slayer, my brother. He grimaces and rubs his eyes. Hard to believe it's been almost 20 years. Alright, so I'm gonna start recording these DVDs again, for me, for Adrian, for whoever might end up watching them. Every time I do this, it winds up feeling like a waste of time, but I keep doing it anyway. On the off chance that I find something important. If I stumbled into the clue that leads me to my brother, I know that I'm gonna want it on film. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, after all. No sense in quitting now. Christ, 20 years, all this time and still no leads. Even with all my contacts and my resources. He takes another long swallow of his cheap liquor. Even with my legendary bullheadedness, I've made no progress at all. I haven't turned up a single goddamn thing. Want to hear something funny? The closest I've gotten to a clue was a rumor. Apparently a team emerged from the SOX a while back. Nobody clear on the date. But get this. He leans on the camera and gives a conspiratorial wink. Supposedly they vanished without a trace. He upends his bottle, drains it, and slams it back down to the table. His eyes are rimmed with red. Not much of a rumor, considering I already know that you're gone, big brother. I live with that every day. Abruptly, Winters leans forward and reaches for something on the screen. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. Track 3. There's a grinding sound for the DVD tray, and Green Winter's image appears on the screen. There's an eager look on his face. The timestamp on the video reads 2054-10-12. Stumbled upon his archival footage of First Wing's original attack. Months before the Dragonfall, easy to forget how devastating it was. Adrian saved a lot of people by bringing her down. I've got the footage all queued up to play, starting now. Additional comments below. The snow-white whir of the DVD player shifts to high-pitched whine. A distorted, wavering image blooms into being on the screen. A timestamp in the upper right corner of the screen marks the date, July 6, 2012. It's different to make out that you're seeing it first. The screen is dark and smoky, and the telltale flashes of emergency vehicle light flickers in the periphery of the screen. The camera pushes in, and you can make out two figures standing in the ruined landscape. All at once, the sound cuts in. Again, for those of you joining us, we're coming to you live from Stolberg. A few hours ago, the Dragon First Wing launched an unprovoked attack on a sleepy Haas mountain town. You can see the results behind me. Fire, ashes, and blood. We are joined tonight by survivor of this latest, almost most horrifying attack. The reporter turns to face a pale man standing behind him. Sir, I understand that you've been through a terrible ordeal. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us tonight. Survivor. The camera switches focus to a middle-aged man with a haunting look in his eye. He's standing about to repeat, Yes, of course. If you could, sir, could you please tell the people of the home about your experience of the attack? It was horrible. Pure chaos. So many people are dead. People I knew, roasted alive or trampled to death trying to escape. My own house was burned to the ground during the attack. My family, we have nothing now. You all made it through the attack, though? Your wife and your kids? Yes, we all made it, thank God. We rode out the attack in a small shelter, me, my wife, and our 2 daughters. The shelter protected us, but the heat was just unbearable. We couldn't have stayed in there much longer than we did. How long were you holed up in there? 3, maybe 4 hours. I don't know. We just stayed inside until the heat died down and the screaming stopped. And what happened after that? When it was over, when the air cooled down, the reporter nods and the man continues. We stepped outside. There was nothing left, just smoldering wreckage and the dense cloud of black, oily smoke and the stench in the air. God, that smell. It smelled like roasted meat. There was a long pause, and from the tortured look at his face, you can tell that the man is struggling to decide whether or not to continue. Eventually, he does. My girls, they found what was left of their nanny outside. Her body, what was left of it, was slumped against the shelter door. I keep telling myself I couldn't hear her pounding to get in, but that isn't true. I could. I just couldn't bring myself to open that door. I couldn't risk my family like that. Not for her. Not for anyone. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah. You heard it here, an absolute chilling account of tonight's attack. Again, the town of Stolberg has been reduced to ash, another victim of the fire wing. Stay with us for more up-to-minute reporting of First Wing's Reign of Terror. Green Winter's face appears on the screen. Okay, it's time for a new approach. Adrian's a complete dead end. That much is pretty clear by now, so I'm going to do some digging on First Wing instead. Let's see where it goes. The screen abruptly goes black as the video cuts off. A few minutes later, you find yourself returned to the menu screen. 4. The DVD player ramps up speed, filling the air with a shrill whining sound. Green Winter's image appears on the screen. The timestamp on the video reads 20:54:10:31. Well, that was a bust. Little progress on the First thing either. He shakes his head. I don't know, it's weird. The information is there, it's just wrong somehow. It's too well laid out, too simple. Real life is messy, and this feels just a little too neat. It's not the only thing that's nagging at me. I'm getting that tingling feeling up and down the back of my neck again. Feels like I'm being tracked. I'm no Matrix hotshot like Clockwork or Schaefer, but I'm good enough to know when someone's on my scent. Gotta install some new security measures. Can't be too careful. Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. 5. The display goes blank for a moment. Then the face of the Green Winters winks into the screen. He is seated at a computer. Off to his left, an enormous monitor fills the screen. His voice carries an edge of panic. The timestamp on the video reads 20:54:11:09. Christ, I'm getting too close to something. There's a trail of bodies, and there have been disappearances. Gearbox, Marcian, Peregrine, they've all disappeared within the past few years. Gearbox went AWOL yesterday, and they were all making the same sort of inquiries about the fire wing that I've been. There's ghost stories spreading about the Decker community, stories about Deckers disappearing and then showing up again later, but wrong somehow. Scary stuff. I'm starting to think it's true. Blitz leans in to whisper to you. I know that story he's talking about, Chief. Never really put much stock into him, not until now. Could these rumors be related to what's happening here? Am I being paranoid? He pauses for a moment, as seriously considering the question, and then he shakes his head and slams his fist on the table. No, I don't think so. Something big is happening here, and I'm right in the middle of it. Iger cuts in. That is a bit of a leap. One other thing. Tolstoy told me of a story about a kill team that might be related to all this. Apparently a Decker named Hellbore posted a theory about First Wing back to the Shadowlands BBS about 5 years ago. About an hour later, a mil-spec team showed up here in the meat space and cooked her entire apartment with her in it. If what Tolstoy told me was true, Hellbore live posted the event. She described their killer, the great big orc with skin grafts. Then the whole thread disappeared, gone without trace. Deep, Iger love. Sounds like he's on the right track to me. Iger holds her silence, but concedes the point with a small nod. On the screen, Winters pauses. He looks like he's working up to something. Finally speaks. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This has gotta be First Wing. All of it. Adrian was right about her. She's still alive, and she's out of the SOX. She's covered her tracks, working the shadows, preparing to rise again. But that means I have to find you, Adrian, for everyone's sakes. Thankfully, I've got a lead. For the first time in 2 decades, I've got a solid goddamn lead. I've backtracked to all of the Matrix knows that Hellbore was looking into back before she got cooked. Whoever's been purging the Matrix didn't think about that, and I found that she turned up. Winter stabs a few keys on his keyboard, and an image expands to fill the screen of his monitor. A satellite photo of a rural landscape, annotated with GPS data. A set of map coordinates. So now I've got a target, a place to start digging. The Harfield Manor, conveniently located on an isolated stretch of countryside, miles away from prying eyes. Matrix records indicate that some sort of data vault exists between the estate. That's what I need to get into. And this is where we came in. As if on cue, a familiar image winks on the monitor to Winter's left. Monica. I think I'm gonna tap Schaefer for this job. She's got the skill to bypass whatever security they're running out there, and she's gullible enough to take the job in the first place. I'll feed her some line about flux state security, and she'll eat it up with a spoon. I warned her! Amstel's voice is choked with rage. I warned her! On display, Winter's mouth parts into a broad grin. Time to put in plans into motion. By this time tomorrow night, I should have the information that I need. On the off chance that Schaefer gets taken out, well, that'll tell me something too. Can't make an omelet on all that. Till then. Winter's image disappears. The display goes blank. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. 6. When you play the 6th track, a small video window appears. You recognize the scene in the window. You're looking at the tattered drapes and nicotine-stained wallpaper of Winter's hotel room at Das Kesselhaus. The timestamp of the video reads 12:54:11:10. The image is a blur of motion, and the haggard form of Green Winters lumbers into frame. Suspicions confirmed. Schaefer dead. Christ. Winters reaches a shaking hand off camera. A moment later, he returns clutching a cheap plastic drinking glass. He gulps down something down, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and then takes a deep breath. Okay. Back up. Slow down. Start from the beginning. Winters closes his eyes and makes a visible effort to calm himself. When he speaks again, his voice is steady. Got the call from my contact in the Crescent Bauer. Schaefer killed on the estate run. Matrix security at the estate cooked her brain. Considering Schaefer's skill and experience on-site IC must have been extreme, even by Berlin standards. Security of that kind costs money. Real money. Given the evidence uncovered so far, corporate involvement unlikely. The connection to the fire wing is too strong. So let's come right out and say it. The dragon is what we're dealing with here, and the smart money says that she's coming for me next. Well, I won't go down without a fight. I've still got my contacts, still got my connections, and the flux state can be a hell of a weapon for a man who knows how to manipulate it. Winters takes another long pull from his glass, grimaces and swallows. Time for me to make another play. Ghost stories or no, missing Deckers or no, I've got to jack into the Matrix and start pulling strings. The countermeasures I installed earlier should be more than enough to keep me safe for the 20 minutes I'll be in there. Winters drains the rest of the glass, then tosses it back over his shoulder. A moment later, you hear the dull clattering sound of hard plastic on linoleum. Schaefer's death was tragic. She was a staunch supporter of the F-state, but still, all things considered. Winters fishes for something off screen. A moment later, his hand reappears, clutching a data jack cable. Better her than me. He plugs the cable in his head, and the screen cuts to static. Eject the DVD. Yeah, we saw what happened with that. As your finger nears the eject button, a black screen cuts in over the static. A moment later, Green Winter's haggard face appears. If you're watching this, then I'll guess they've caught up to me. They will be after you, too, now. Blitz whispers something into your ear again, more harshly this time. What the hell is this? Why didn't you warn me about this before I came here? Hey, announce loudly. Hey, everybody, Blitz is scared. We're all scared, you idiot. Whoever you are, whatever you are, think you are, you need to find Dr. Adrian Vauclair. Not because he's my brother, but because if First Wing is rising in, he's the only one who can stop her. You see what happened to people who get too close to this? I'm dead and dozens of others have died. You'll be next, unless you can find Adrian. The screen cuts back to static. The message is over. The DVD tray slides out of the reader. Well then, we've learned a lot, and we learned about Green Winter's involvement in all this, and Schaefer's death. But man, next clue to find Adrian. How will we find Adrian? Who's got the next scent? Will we follow the White Rabbit to this conclusion? Find out next time in the next episode of Shadowrun Dragonfall. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.